Well, here we are on the last stop in our epic tour through Dublin's community festivals. It's taken us 3 months to get from Drimnagh to Ballyfermot, and as the sun sets on our summer of community-based frolics, we reckon we might have saved the best till last. Coming up in this week's show, it's West Dublin's turn to get the walking tour treatment in the expert hands of Bernard Birmingham. Áras Cronin throws its doors open with a Céad Míle Fáilte. And we get pallier with Ballier as we hit the streets and talk to the neighbours around Ballyfermot. But first, since the dawn of time, walking has been one of mankind's most favourite pastimes. But not since the BBC's Walking with Dinosaurs has walking and history been fused so well together as we've managed to do this year on Festival TV. For the final leg of our walking tours around Dublin, we hand you over to the expert hands of Bernard Birmingham. Final leg, I just got that.
Kilmainham Jail was built in 1796 and it was built as a debtor's prison, as a prison for common criminals. However, by 1798, the jail had taken on another purpose. It was to house Irish political prisoners. In our own memory, I suppose, it's most famous for the events that occurred here in the early spring months of 1916. Once again, Ireland was involved in a rebellion, when the forces led by Padraig Pearse took to the streets of Dublin in an attempt to free Ireland once again from the British Empire. The rising lasted about 7 days, and the leaders of this rising were taken here to be executed. In 1960, many of the former occupants of this jail strove to resurrect it, to bring it back to our memory. And in 1966, the last occupant of the jail, President Eamon de Valera, once again visited and had the honour of opening this jail to commemorate all those who had participated in the great struggle for Irish freedom. We have arrived here in an area of Inchicore known locally as Golden Bridge. And on my right hand side here is the remains of one of the major military barracks that were built here in Dublin during the years of the English occupation. It was built in 1814 and it was named after Lord Richmond, who was the Viceroy in Dublin at that time, the King's representative here in Ireland. Now, it would have been very easy for this building just to be remembered by us as an architectural symbol of England's rule here in Ireland. But in 1916, the leaders of the failed Easter Rising were brought here. They were found guilty, sentenced to be executed by firing squad. I'm standing here outside Richmond Park. For many generations, people from Inchicore and from the outlying districts have come here to watch St. Patrick's Athletic play. But what they may not realise is that they owe a great debt of gratitude to the British Army. For Richmond Park was once the recreation facilities of Richmond Barracks, which is located just across the road. When the British left here in 1923, they vacated the grounds, and by 1925, Brideville, who were then playing in the League of Ireland, took occupancy of this football pitch. In 1930, Brideville left here and St. Patrick's made it their home. Through good times and bad over all those years, Pats have played here in Richmond.
And that was Bernard Birmingham giving West Dublin a good shoeing. And Bernard will be back in our next episode with part 2 of his walking tour. And now I'm joined by Liam Flanagan from the West Dublin Festival. Liam, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me, Mark.
No problem. Liam, you're from the West Dublin Access Radio, who basically organised this festival, isn't that correct?
That's correct. This year is our 4th year and we started organising a great community event. Really looking forward to take place.
Yeah, and obviously you're saying it's primarily voluntary run, isn't it?
It is voluntary run. The station supports. What we tend to do is to get a group of core volunteers who's been involved. In fact, it was their inception together. We started around February, and then we plan, and the volunteers generally lead, take over, the station just supports them.
Yeah, so it's great. So it is a really true community festival because you're getting the community are putting it together themselves.
It is, like, up to this year, it used to be primarily just music, but we decided to start bringing in community projects in, like the Irish dancers, the karate, you know, and some community organisations like that to try and have more of a community focus on it.
Yeah, so there's a night variation and events and stuff that's happening, but there is an awful lot of bands playing as well, isn't there?
There's 8 bands playing. There's 4 bands and there's 4 solo artists. So what we tend to do is have a solo artist, a band, a solo artist and a band playing on the day.
Yeah, so it's a nice mix. And one of the bands, of course, won through a Battle of the Bands in Áras Cronin.
That's correct. A couple of weeks back, it was one of our volunteers that came up with a concept of, because the festival has to be paid for, so came up with an idea of a fundraiser to run a Battle of the Band up in Áras Cronin. And they did, and the band that won, Men in Slacks, will be appearing on the bill on Sunday.
Brilliant, a great opportunity for Men in Slacks as well to appear in such a community festival and bit of exposure for them.
Absolutely, and they're a good bunch of lads. You know, they're very tight. They well deserve winning the actual competition, but they won't be out of place by any stretch of the means or stretch of the imagination come Sunday.
Yeah. Well, listen, Liam, that's great. We're really looking forward to the festival. Thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you on Sunday for all the fun and games.
Thank you.
And now we're heading over to Áras Cronin to see all the happenings there.
Díogwit. Here in Clondalkin, this beautiful Georgian building is used to promote the Irish language. It's called Áras Cronin, and today we're here to find out its role as a cultural resource for the people of West Dublin. Let's go take a look.
Hi, Kat, 4-year-old.
So you're going to give us a tour?
Yeah, we'll give you a tour around Áras Cronin on a cool tour. We'll go this way. We're going into this room first. It's called the Green On, which is known as the Irish word for sun. Used to be an old bay window room where you used to sit and have tea in the sunshine. So we use this for members playing music at night, and we rent out rooms during the day to different groups for meetings and for everything else. Because as I was saying to you, we don't get any state finance for the running of the building or anything like that, so we have to kind of get it all together ourselves. And it's a big old house, but this is lovely. This is one of my favourite rooms in the house. Yeah. This is the bar. And then we come through this little room we call Uncluid, or the Den. Great trad sessions in here. I mean, there's be some fantastic music in here at the weekends. Musicians would either sit in that corner over there.
Is the Irish language strong in Clondalkin?
Very strong. I think Clondalkin and the South Dublin area, which I mean by the Tala, Racool, Newcastle, all this kind of area, has, as far as I'm aware from the census, has the biggest Irish-speaking population outside of the Gaeltacht. And as I say, what we do here is the committees and the board and the whole lot, we're caretakers, and our responsibility is to pass this whole entity and asset onto the next generation financially, morally, ethically, and everything we can the best way, and try and encourage the next generation to come through and pick up that mantle and bring it through to the next, because it doesn't belong to any one person.
So what's going on here at the moment?
Well, this is the Clondalkin Youth Theatre, who are one of the groups who used the place. We took them under our wing a couple of years ago because we found that an awful lot of the kids who were involved in it were actually pupils of the All-Irish Secondary School, so they had a natural thing for the language. So they're putting on a production this weekend of The Works of Roald Dahl. So they're literally writing it as we speak. I mean, last week there's a couple in there who had just done their leaving cert, and they had their band in, they've got new bands and they're rehearsing. So you've got all the sound gear and everything here, so they're able to plug it in through. They borrowed the Zooms from the studio with the digital recorders, plugged it through the desk, so they're able to record what they were doing, then listen back to it and see how they're getting on. So, but we show them all that technology, show them how to use it, and we converse in and out of English and Irish. So, and that's what it's about. It's about keeping the language alive and doing activities. As I say, it's not just necessary, because people, when they hear an Irish club, they think, one, you have to be fluent in Irish, you probably have to be able to do shannos dancing, you probably have to play a traditional instrument. We've people who come into the building who wouldn't be able to speak a word of Irish, absolutely not a word, but might be here for the music, the dance or whatever, or just because they like what it's about.
Yeah. Well, as you can see, Áras Crónan is truly a cultural gem here in Clondalkin. Remember to check them out on Facebook or at árascronan.ie. Now back to a man who would have tested the patience of St. Crónan himself, Mark in the studio.
Vox Pops. That's what we call it when a TV crew grabs an unsuspecting member of the public and asks them inane questions that they don't really know the answers to. For example, what's your view on the situation in Western Sahara?
I think it's good.
Really? And do you think the US should change its position and support the Sahrawi government?
I think it's interesting that the US's policy has shifted away from its traditional support of Moroccan sovereignty.
Do you like carrots?
The best thing about living in Ballyfermot for me is probably the youth groups, because they get you involved in a lot of things and get you out of the area.
I was attached with the Civic Centre with the drama group for 4 years, and I found it fantastic. You know, the support we got from the people of Ballyfermot was great.
Well, I like the idea that you meet quite a lot of people that you knew when you were younger.
Best thing, I think it's the amenities around. Like, you've got the shops, you've got supermarkets close by, shops are very close, and the centre up, the gym up there with and then the parks around the area and everything, yeah.
Oh, everything is beside you, and people are so different than anywhere in the world. They're the best people. They really are.
It's very down to earth. Very nice people around here.
People, the activities they have, and they've a lot more going on now than what they did before. There's loads of doors to open regards the homeless shelters, you know, the cafes, the things that you run for children, things, you know, like local things. They do an awful lot of local community things. Very community-based in Ballyfermot.
The leisure centres.
I think the best thing has to be like the community itself. Everyone's really friendly.
The people, the shops, the atmosphere, everything. There's nothing. It's strange that this is probably through the recession, not one shop in this village closed down. They actually opened shops. In 4 words, I'd say a good place to be.
Just not bad, the best place to be.
In 4 words, well, that's hard now. Easy to get to.
Good people, great neighbours.
Amazing, comfortable, and very relaxing. Very social, actually. It's a very social area.
Interesting. I'd have to describe it as friendly. There's a lot of groups.
4 words. Well, nice, welcoming, homely, and what would be the last one, would you say? Maybe always there to help.
Crazy, fun, festive, friendly.
So that's it. Summer's lease hath all too short a date, and so hath ours, I don't know. Anyway, we'll be back with the next episode of Festival TV, where we'll be smothering your ears in musical luxuriousness from the West Dublin Festival. Until then, bye for now.